This is the Ryan Morik Show.
Yes, the first show of many, hopefully. This is the Ryan Morik Podcast. Thanks for tuning in and welcome to the show. There's a lot of stuff going on. The Yanks are hot. Andrew Wiggins is a Timberwolf. And the New York Jets have started preseason. But first, let me begin by introducing myself. My name is Ryan Morik. I am a sophomore at Ramapo College of New Jersey. And this is the podcast. My radio show at Ramapo is coming in September, but I figured I'd get a little bit of a head start and start with the podcast. We're starting with the Yankees today, who are on a red-hot streak. They have beaten the Detroit Tigers in 3 of their last 4 games. This team looks like the Yankees that we've been waiting for. Even though that 80% of their starting pitching from opening day is hurt, they're still in it. Right now they hold a playoff spot. So I don't want to hear anyone saying they're sneaking into the postseason. Currently, they're tied with the second wild card. They are only 5 games out of the American League East. They're in good hands right now. They're back 5 games with 7 games left to play against the Orioles. That's not a bad spot to be in. The Yankees are actually a half game behind Kansas City for the wild card. LA Angels are probably going to get the first wild card. And the second is up to the Royals, the Yanks, Seattle, Toronto, maybe Cleveland, maybe Tampa Bay. But the race is definitely between the Royals, Yanks, Mariners, and Blue Jays. And it might be the Yankee fan in me, but honestly, I think the Yankees can get it done. With Beltran hitting and McCann hitting, and this pitching, which is unbelievable. Brett Gardner has been unbelievable. Derek Jeter's been hitting also. This looks like the Yankees that we expected on opening day. They can definitely make moves. They just beat Detroit 3 times in a 4-game set. With a team that has been struggling to hit all year, their run differential is minus 23 right now. They beat 2 Cy Young winners. And the only time they lost was a game that went to the 12th, 13th inning? Went to extra innings, and Matt Daly let up a home run based on 1 mistake. That's it. I don't think this is a series of luck. This is the Yankee team that we've been waiting for. When they signed Jacoby Ellsbury, when they signed Carlos, when they signed McCann, we knew that they can do this. So I don't get why everyone's so shocked that they're on a hot streak right now. But the question is, I have no doubt in my mind that the Yankees are going to do well. I have no question in my mind that they're going to continue to do well until late September. But what about Baltimore? They are ridiculous. They're just as high as the Yankees. The Yanks have won 6 of their last 10. Baltimore's won 7 of their last 10. Their offense is incredible. I don't know how long they can keep that up, but they're impressive. Baltimore is a very good team. I don't think Toronto's going to hold. Tampa, Boston, they gave up. But I don't want to hear the Yankees are sneaking into the playoffs. They're not sneaking into the playoffs. They're right in it. They're right in it with everyone else. It's unbelievable. Why are people saying they're sneaking in? They're a half game behind the wild card. 5 games behind the East. Yes, that looks like a big lead for Baltimore, but it's not. If the Yankees beat Baltimore, all these 6 games left, 7 games rather, let's do the math. Now, any Yankee fan right now, if they're afraid of Baltimore, they are praying that some people are on that Biogenesis list. 85 names are supposed to be released. Who knows when? I hope soon. As much as I don't want to know, you have to know. Baseball fans have to know who was on this list. TJ Quinn said on the Michael K. show the other day, these are not borderline players. These are big-time players. But does that mean big-time Miguel Cabrera, Mike Trout, McCutchen, Batista? Or does it mean guys like Brett Gardner, Brett Lowry, Josh Donaldson. I'm sure that every Yankee fan is hoping that David Ortiz is on this list. Not just because that they're a threat. They're obviously not a threat. They got rid of everyone. They got rid of their whole team. But A-Rod has been denying. He gets suspended for 211 games. Then it was reduced to a season. But David Ortiz was on a list back in 2003. And I was at the game 2 days after Ortiz got busted with it back in 2009. The game where A-Rod, no, how ironic, hit the walk-off against the Sox at the bottom of the 15th when it was a shutout, which was actually 5 years ago yesterday and today, because that game went into the wee hours of the morning. But how come A-Rod denies? And believe me, I think he's guilty. Obviously, I think any baseball fan thinks he's guilty. Everyone in baseball thinks he's guilty. But David Ortiz says, oh, they screwed up, and he's off the hook. People are saying that he's going to go into the Hall of Fame, but you got guys like Bonds and Clemens and all these guys, studs, who don't get into the Hall of Fame ever, most likely. But David Ortiz, nope, he's denying it. He didn't do anything. Oh, okay, yep, he's free. No, you were on a list. But I'm sure that Yankee fans really want that to happen. Because it's unacceptable for one person to say that he's not guilty and everyone believe him. And then A-Rod, we all don't like A-Rod, I get it. But how come when he denies, no one believes him? Now, nothing against David Ortiz. He's a great player. He's probably the greatest DH I've ever seen. But something's not right. And some of these teams are going to get busted. 85 players. So do the math. 30 teams, 25 guys. That's what? 750 players? I did the math. That's about 11% of players busted, given that they're all in the majors right now. 11% is a lot of players. Now, average that out. That's just under 3 players a team. And if some of these guys are not borderline players, then some teams are in trouble. Let's say, I'm taking a shot out of the dark, not accusing anyone. Let's say Miguel Cabrera is guilty. Let's say his name was on Tony Bosch's list. Detroit's only 2.5 games ahead of Kansas City. They have not been hitting well. Detroit, if Miguel Cabrera goes down, Kansas City is going to win that division. Miguel Cabrera means a lot to that team. And yes, they have an awesome rotation. Awesome. Probably the best in the league. Either them or Oakland. But one of these teams is going to get busted. This list, if it comes out before the end of the season, will shake up pennant races. Another example, let's say Bryce Harper, Jason Worth, whatever, one of those two guys. Again, not accusing. If a guy from Washington goes down, Atlanta's probably going to win the division, despite being 4.5 games out. Let's say Ryan Braun's on the list again. St. Louis and Pittsburgh are only 1.5 games out. The Reds are even 4 games out. That division's pretty tight. So these teams are going to get busted. And it's going to be a wild pennant race. It's going to be crazy. But now here's what I don't get. We care so much about this list for baseball. But how come no one cares when it happens to football? A Giants guard, Eric Herman, just got busted for 4 games. That's 25% of their games. I can guarantee you no one cares. No one cares. But baseball, they all care. I can't answer that. I can't answer that. I don't think people realize that there's not much of a difference between a 50-game suspension in a 162-game season, and a 4-game suspension in 16 games. Probably because you play once a week, you miss 4 games, but you still practice, you still hang out with the team, you still do everything. Baseball, you don't hang out with the team. You can't practice with them. You're done. for 50 games. That's 2 months right there. I think that's why people care a lot when it comes to baseball. Because baseball, when you're suspended, and now that the penalties have increased in baseball, you'll miss a lot of time. A 4-game suspension in football is a month. A 50-game suspension in baseball is well over a month and a half, close to 2 months, depending on how many days off you have. It's strange. It's a little strange. Again, I'm going to mention TJ Quinn on the Michael K. Show. He said that any piece he ever wrote for a football player getting down with steroids, readers didn't care. They care a lot with baseball. I don't know whether it's the passion that baseball fans have rather than football fans. I mean, baseball is my favorite sport, bar none. Nothing will ever compare. So yes, I care more about a baseball suspension for steroids than I do a football suspension. But I think even football fans, guys who like football a lot more than baseball, when a guy goes down, unless your name is Josh Gordon, or if you have a stud that is suspended in football, you will care. But we saw Nelson Cruz go down last year, and the league was in an uproar. Last year's Nelson Cruz was not this year's Nelson Cruz. Last year's Nelson Cruz was a slightly above average player. And let's compare last year's Nelson Cruz to, let's say Rashad Jennings. Rashad Jennings, not a complete stud, but above average athlete. If Rashad Jennings got suspended right now for steroids, and let's rewind to last year's Biogenesis scandal, where Nelson Cruz got suspended. Overall, fan base-wise, more people would care about Nelson Cruz than Rashad Jennings, unless if you're a big Giant fan. That's just how it goes. But there's no answer to that. Speaking of football, the New York Jets, they are back. The Jets are back. Rex Ryan is back. The talking is back. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I didn't watch too much of the game last night, but I know enough to say that Michael Vick should be the starter of the New York Jets. Geno Smith is not a great quarterback. I wouldn't say he's that good of a quarterback. Michael Vick can lead this team to the playoffs. Yes, he can lead this team to the playoffs. Geno last year, 3,000 passing yards, which isn't terrible for a mobile quarterback, but 21 interceptions. If I remember right, he didn't throw a touchdown for 4 games in a row. 12 touchdowns, 21 interceptions. Those aren't the stats that bring you into the playoffs. Simple. He's pretty fast. He can move. He's mobile. He knows what he's doing. I think he has a very high football IQ. But he's not a playoff quarterback. He's not good enough to start for this team. Would Geno last longer than Vic health-wise? I think 95% of people with knowledge of football would say yes. Michael Vick will probably last 12 weeks, slide somewhere, break a rib, and then he'll be out for the rest of the 4 games. But Michael Vick is the answer, I think. Now, do the Jets make the playoffs whether Vic or Geno is the quarterback? I don't think so. I think they finished 10-6, but I think there's just not enough room. I think that they just finish below the line. I don't think that they're a playoff team. I don't think they're one of the top 6 teams in the AFC. But Michael Vick can get in there. Geno Smith can't. I just don't think he can. I think Michael Vick is a better quarterback. Last year, Geno Smith missed guys wide open. Wide open. It's not like he would miss them by a yard or 2. He would miss them by a lot. And you think that if he threw that ball a little softer, this guy scores a touchdown. What if Eric Decker is wide open for a 50-yard bomb with 20 seconds left against the Patriots, and he overthrows him? In that situation, I'd rather have Vic. I don't trust Geno I'm not a Jet fan. I'm a Giant fan. But if I were a Jet fan, I would trust Michael Vick. I wouldn't trust him health-wise, but I would trust him with getting the Jets to where they're supposed to be. Now, both of them did not play too well last night. They weren't exceptional. Again, they only played how long? A quarter, maybe. But you can't base a decision based on 1 quarter of a preseason game. Ever since the Jets signed Michael Vick, I said he's their starter. Now, granted, if one of them gets hurt, whoever starts, they have one heck of a backup. Geno Smith is a good backup quarterback, but he's not a good starting quarterback. Unfortunately, for the New York Giants, David Wilson won't get the chance to start for that team. David Wilson had a lot of potential for this team. I know he didn't hold on to the ball that much. He let up a couple fumbles. But he was fast. He can run, that boy. I went to training camp a couple weeks ago, and he was the fastest guy on the field. He was the fastest guy on the field, no question. If the line last year gave him room to run and gave him room to explode, David Wilson would be one of the best running backs today. Definitely. I think he would be starting over Rashad Jennings. And Rashad Jennings is a pretty good player too. But David Wilson had a chance to make a name for himself. He expected, well, I'm sure every player says this, but he thought he was going to be in the Hall of Fame. And I think he had the potential to, honestly. If he held on to the football, definitely. It's sad. He had to announce his retirement at 23 years old. I'm 18, turning 19 in a month. What if I had to retire in 4 years? I feel for David Wilson, man. I feel for him. Because of one neck injury. That's it. He was cleared. Now, here's the debate. He was cleared to play by doctors, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago? And then he suffered a burner. How can doctors clear him? How can they clear him? That doesn't make sense to me. If he was going to get hurt a week later, don't you think the doctors would know that? I just think that's so odd how he was cleared to play and the same injury happened a week later. And it's not like he got tackled to the ground, wrestled to the ground. It wasn't like it was a helmet-to-helmet hit in practice. It was a burner. He felt numb. And one injury ruins his career. And if you saw his press conference the other day, he was distraught, obviously. But I've never seen, in a really long time, I haven't seen such a humble speech. He was so humble. He said there were tears of joy. Before he even he was thanking Coughlin, thanking the Giants. When you get a chance, watch his press conference the other day at Giants practice. It was moving. It looked like an SB Courage speech. That's what it looked like to me. That's what it sounded like. David Wilson is a humble human being. And I wish him the best of luck. So the NBA, Andrew Wiggins is now a Timberwolf. He can't be happy. He cannot be happy. He was just about to team up with LeBron James. The guy's 19. If I were 19 and I had the chance to play with LeBron James, I wouldn't sleep at night from excitement. I would be so excited. This is a guy who is being compared to Tracy McGrady, and I think his ceiling is a lot higher than that. Remember, at first, they didn't want to trade Wiggins. Remember, the Cavs signed him for one reason, because they weren't sure if they should get rid of him. They knew they were not getting Kevin Love unless they traded Wiggins. He's going to be something. But that's why the Cavs signed him. The Cavs signed him not because they wanted him to play for them. They signed him to that contract because they couldn't decide. And once he signed that contract, that meant that he couldn't sign with another team for 30 days. And notice how the Timberwolves said that a trade won't go down until August 23rd or 24th. As soon as I saw that, I knew Andrew Wiggins was being traded. You had to have known. Because if they had a trade, why would they wait 2-3 weeks to make it final? They've had this trade done since probably the day the Timberwolves said, we're waiting until August 23rd, 24th. And I think once he said that, everyone knew. So let's take a look at the Cavs right now. Kyrie Irving, Dion Waiters, Anderson Varejao, LeBron James, Kevin Love, and possibly Ray Allen and Mike Miller. LeBron is in his glory. He is in his glory. He's back at home with 3 of his favorite teammates. He's back at Cleveland with a chance to win a ring that Cleveland has been waiting for decades. LeBron cannot wait to step on that basketball court. I don't see them losing the East unless if Chicago has an amazing season, because we've seen Derrick Rose. He looks healthy. He looks pretty good. The only team that can get in the Cavs' way is the Bulls. I don't think they will, but I think they could be close. But they're too good. The Cavs are too good. I don't think the Cavs will win this year. If they do win, I won't be surprised because they're tremendous. I think the Spurs or Thunder win this year, and then after that, the Cavs are a straight powerhouse. I think they're going to be the next dynasty. I think they're going to be like the Bulls. They're not going to be as good. I don't think they're going to win 72 games in a season, but they have a chance to win 3-4 in a row. LeBron took the Miami Heat to 4 finals in a row, and he can go to a 5th and a 6th and a 7. The Cavs are going to be gross. They're going to be sick. No one in the East is going to stop Cleveland. And after this year, no one in the league will stop Cleveland. Give them a year to build their chemistry, and they're going to be a dynasty. They're going to be good. Well, that about does it. I am Ryan Morik. This has been the Ryan Morik Podcast. It's not goodbye, but see you later. Have a good weekend, everybody.